Vandersloot and Quigley, the all-star duo, and then Diamond DeShields is Dundu and Stephanie Dolson round out the starting lineup. And the 2019 WNBA playoffs are underway as the Mercury win the tip. Phoenix 6-0 in single elimination games in the first and second round since the advent of this format 3 seasons ago, and Griner starts things with a bucket for the Mercury.
Sandy Brondello went over that in shoot-around. No surprise, they wanted the first touch to go into Brittany Griner. She has played extremely well in the matchups against Chicago.
Vandersloot gets switched on Griner. Griner follows her with a block. Collected, though, by Ndu. 3 to shoot. Quigley trying to find space, finds Vandersloot on a 3.
We talked about the relative inexperience of Chicago in these moments. Well, Vandersloot and Quigley are 2 of the players who have been here in this moment in the playoffs.
They have played in every single playoff game that the Chicago Sky franchise has been a part of, as Vandersloot had to work hard around that screen. DeShields feed. Chicago likes to play fast, and you saw that quick trigger from Sloot. Bonner steps into a 3 and buries it.
That is huge for the Phoenix Mercury and for DeWanna Bonner. She has struggled this season with her three-point shot. She has not scored really well in the last 4 games. They need her to have a big offensive night here tonight.
She was tremendous in the playoffs a season ago, averaging 24 points, 11 rebounds, was second in scoring and first in boards. Ndu can't hit the 3. Nice box out from Griner, and she fists it over to January. Bonner wedged against the baseline. It'll stay with Phoenix. I'm not sure Chicago made contact with that basketball, but it'll stay with the Mercury. Okay. Griner, quick jumper is off, and Quigley the weak side board. Chicago swept the season series with Phoenix 3-0, winning by an average of 14 points per matchup.
And you already see the kind of the contrast and how these 2 teams want to play in terms of pace. Chicago will push the ball, get shots early in transition. Phoenix more comfortable running their offense.
And Bonner forcing things a bit in the early going. Here's Vandersloot working around the Dolson screen. Will fire and connect. 2 early threes for Courtney Vandersloot.
And credit the assist, even though she doesn't get one there, to Stephanie Dolson because of the screen she set. Holly Rowe did a great video on social media today showing the difficulty of getting around a Stephanie Dolson screen.
At Sports Siren on Twitter. That pass ends up with Dolson. Here's Quigley flashing ahead. It's DeShields for 2. Five straight for Chicago. Bonner dishes. Gets it back and can't pop it in. Nice box out from Dolson. Ndu gives it to Vandersloot. Oh, the no-look feed and the pretty finish from Ndu. .7-0 run for Chicago. That Griner can't end. Bounces out to Bonner. 11 to operate for Phoenix. January's 3 is around and off, and Quigley and Vandersloot, the married couple, combine on the rebound. The no-look to Dolson, and she banked it too strong. Here's Bonner. Dashing down the floor, denied by Diamond DeShields.
You are seeing right now the athleticism being displayed by Chicago, the speed up and down, Diamond DeShields, her ability to elevate, one of the elite athletes in the WNBA.
An all-star this season in her second year out of Tennessee. That layup won't go for Vandersloot. Follows it up, though, and then Mitchell scrapes it away. Here's January. She has a lot of playoff experience and draws the whistle there. Foul called on Duke. And January will shoot 2. Sandy Brondello has talked about the importance of getting a third or fourth scorer for Phoenix, and January likely has to be one of those contributors. This is the YouTube TV Try It free throw. Watch WNBA games and 70+ live channels when you try YouTube TV for free at tv.youtube.com. January buries a pair. January, a one-time All-Star, 6 times on the All-Defensive team. Dolson's 3 is pure. A 13-7 lead early for Chicago, and they've hit from downtown thrice.
Chicago can be a handful offensively because their bigs can step out and hit threes and therefore open the driving lanes for their athletic wings.
Deep catch from Griner. She's so tough to stop in those spots.
Well, you heard Brianna Stewart the last time we did a Phoenix game. If Griner catches it with 2 feet in the paint, you're done.
See DeWanna Bonner trying to stick with Courtney Vandersloot. Dolson dishes, Parker loses, Bonner collects. More than halfway into this first quarter of this single elimination first round game. Griner sees the angle, can't finish. Parker directs it over to Dolson. Vandersloot pedaling. The no look eventually ends up with Parker. Mitchell's 3 is good. A much-needed make for the Mercury.
Not only for the points it puts on the board, but it lets them come back defensively.
Dolson just set a vicious screen on DeWanna Bonner, who is shaken up. And Dolson ended up with a free layup afterwards. Timeout taken by Phoenix.
Courtney Vandersloot set a record this season. Most assists in a single season in the history of the WNBA. Lots of times they're fancy.
Come back to Chicago. Here was Sky point guard Courtney Vandersloot. And Courtney, I see James Wade over here going, let's go, let's go, let's go. He wants this pace fast. Why?
Because that's when we're at our best. You know, teams have a hard time keeping up with us. We do our best scoring when we're in transition. So we're just going to try and keep this pace all night.
You have more assists this year than any player in WNBA history, and yet you found your three-point shot tonight. How do you balance both of those?
Well, if they're going to take away the pass, I got to be a scorer. I got to find ways to help my team. I'm going to do both tonight.
Thank you.
Well, Courtney Vandersloot just had a three-pointer taken off the board. First bucket of the game was reviewed and ruled after the shot clock had expired. So that's why you see 3 fewer points on the board. The lead is now 2 instead of 5 for Chicago. And Vandersloot with 3 points, 4 assists instead of 6 points. Yvonne Turner in for Phoenix. Bonner will fire. No. And the rebound on the weak side to Chicago. Here is Quigley. Allie Quigley, a 3-time All-Star, as Vandersloot can't connect. Vandersloot, an All-Star 2 times in her career. This season, leading the league in assists for a 4th time. Griner will take the jumper and hit.
That's a part of her game that's been more of a recent development in Brittany Griner's career.
DeShields thought about it, will fire, no. Bonner the rebound. DeWanna Bonner to the reverse, couldn't finish. Here's DeShields, just beating Phoenix down the floor.
Chicago is so good when they get a defensive stop at pushing the pace the other way. So for Phoenix, it's not only important to hit their shots, as I was talking about earlier, just for the points, but also they can go back and get the matchups they want on the defensive end of the floor.
DeShields pokes it away. Diamond DeShields in for another bunny.
One of the brightest young stars in the WNBA, Diamond DeShields, in her second season in the league.
She has 6 points, all in transition. Camille Little can't wedge that in. Parker secures the rebound for Chicago. DeShields will take. Air ball, flagged down, but saved right to Griner. Remember, this is a single elimination first round playoff game as Dolson is called for the foul. We'll take a look at that. Diamond DeShields D.
We talked about how great of an athlete Diamond DeShields is. Not only that, but she's got length and size. And if she gets out in the open floor, there's not many players who are going to be able to catch her. The way she glides into the rim in transition.
And a steal off the inbound by Duke. DeShields in transition again. A 6-0 Diamond DeShields run for Chicago.
So good in transition. So good when they can get a steal. If you turn the ball over, that's 2 points going the other way.
Mitchell, likely to be named the most improved player of the season. Phoenix will need her tonight as Carson pirouettes with the rebound. No Diana Taurasi, still battling that lingering hamstring injury after back surgery earlier this year as Carson hits the jumper. And in these games, single elimination games, winner take all games, Diana Taurasi 13-1 in her WNBA career. Only loss coming in game 5 of the semis against Seattle last year. But Phoenix without their leader tonight as Parker is fouled inside. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, you talk about Diamond DeShields and that run that she's been on. She is finally healthy. In a wonderful article by Katie Barnes on ESPNW this week, you can see that she's got this big sleeve on her left shin. She has battled stress fractures and stress reactions, inflammation in that shin, but eating healthy, becoming more of a vegan, not eating foods that cause inflammation. She is at her finest right now, and I think it's on full display right now with her athleticism on defense and offense.
Yeah, I mean, she just oozes athleticism.
And she's always, since her days in college, oozed confidence. You combine those two things with skill, and you've got a pretty special basketball player.
Mitchell, no. 8 seconds remaining in the quarter. DeShields poised up the floor. DeShields slashing, taking, can't hit. And that'll do it for the first quarter. But a strong one from Chicago. They have a 4-point lead after one. DeShields with 8, including the last 6 for the Sky.
The WNBA Playoffs 2019 is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. Taco Bell's $5 Triple Double Crunch Wrap Box. And Exxon and Mobil's new Synergy Supreme Plus.
Welcome back to Chicago, here with Phoenix coach Sandy Brondello. And coach, this pace has you guys scrambling a little bit right now. How do you adapt to it better?
Well, I think number one, we have to take care of the ball. We have to have better spacing on offense. We're allowing them to get out in transition. That said, we can't allow that. I mean, we're lucky to be down by 4.
Diamond DeShields seems to be a problem right now. How can you play her a little bit better?
Well, obviously in transition, I think anyone can stop us. So it's really about what we do in the half court execution-wise. And every time she has the ball, we have to show her a crowd.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's interesting hearing that first answer from Sandy Brondello because, Rebecca, at the end of the first quarter, you turned to me and said, man, Phoenix is lucky to be down by just 4.
Yeah, I felt like they were completely outplayed in that first quarter, and Chicago only had the 4-point lead, and you can't overstate how important it is to keep Chicago out of transition. And the only way you can do that is take care of the basketball and make more shots than you're missing. And right now, 32% Phoenix is not doing that.
10 of the 20 Sky points in the first were fast break points. Take a look at our upcoming WNBA national TV games. The second game of our first round elimination games coming up next. Minnesota and Seattle face off shortly after this game. Then on Sunday, it's the second round doubleheader of elimination games. Starts at 3 Eastern on ESPN2 with the Sparks taking on the lowest seed that wins tonight. Then Las Vegas will face the other winning team from tonight at 5 Eastern, also on ESPN2. For more on these games and all playoff info, go to WNBA.com or visit the WNBA app.
That was a lot of words on that card, Ryan.
Chunky. Carson through traffic, stood up. Turner maybe got away with a travel there. Nice look inside. January finding Little. Camille Little could be playing in her final game. Little retiring at the end of this season, her 13th in the W. Williams steps into a jumper. No. The putback, no good from Du. And the rebound to Phoenix. Down the floor, Little flying in. Looked like she was hit, no call. Phoenix, the much more experienced team when it comes to playoff basketball, even without Taurasi. They have won all 6 of these first and second round single elimination games they've played over the past 3 years since the new playoff format. Williams couldn't wedge it in. Turner trying to beat Chicago down the floor, but Copper got back.
I was going to say there's been too many possessions without a touch by Brittany Griner. Good decision to pull it out by Turner and then to look into BG inside.
Griner was 3 of 6 from the floor in the first quarter. You know, we were talking with Sandy Brondello about, is this a game where you could just feed Griner over and over and over again, given Chicago's struggles defending the interior? They gave up the most points in the paint in the league per game. And Sandy Brondello brought up an interesting point. She said, she's going to get hers, and we're going to feed her, but you have to be careful to make sure you get everybody else involved as well, because when the fourth quarter comes, that's when the double and triple teams come, and Griner's going to have to pass out of it. And when she does, you're going to need all of her teammates to still be in rhythm and ready to hit shots.
Yeah, they have to have the confidence in the first 3 quarters to feel good about their fourth quarter attempts.
That's off the foot of January, and Brittany Griner's down. Brittany Griner is in pain, and a lot of it.
She set a big screen on Courtney Vandersloot, and it looked like Sloot, when she ran into her, might have gotten a piece of her knee.
Diana Taurasi already sidelined, the other Mercury star, out to check on Griner, who is in a lot of pain, and that is the last thing you want to see if you're a fan of this league and the way Brittany Griner plays basketball. Well, Brittany Griner getting caught up with Allie Quigley, and that left knee taking some contact from Quigley, and Griner going down in a heap afterwards, Rebecca.
The good thing is you don't see it buckle, but when you get that knee-on-knee or bone-on-bone contact, that is painful.
And you see Griner being helped back to the Mercury locker room. Diana Taurasi helping escort her. It was hard to see a path to victory for Phoenix without Taurasi. Without Griner as well, it becomes nearly impossible to fathom.
Everything they do runs through and around Brittany Griner. Her teammates play off of her, the attention she draws. Yeah, like you said, I don't know where they go.
And this player who James Wade, the head coach of the Chicago Sky, also has a serious interest in. He is one of Brittany's assistant coaches on her team over in Russia. Duke can't finish. Griner and Wade were joking before the game, with Griner giving Wade flack for his collection of fanny packs. So you just hope that Griner somehow is back on the floor here tonight. Certainly send her our best wishes.
And, DeWanna Bonner has been out of the game for quite a bit. She took a bit of a hit in the first quarter. Holly checking on her.
Meanwhile, Chicago has missed its last 8 shots, opening the door for Phoenix. Can January step through it? She's whacked. And Breon January will shoot 2. First foul on Williams, third team foul on Chicago. Now, January is a player who's been at a lot of these spots with Indiana in her career, now with Phoenix. The one thing is the Mercury do not scare. And Leilani Mitchell used the phrase, there are no surprises for us in these spots. So if you are wondering about the resolve or steely nature of a team, it's embedded with this Mercury team.
And, when you look at the lineup right now, it's not the resolve or the steely nature. I'm wondering about it's the horses. All season long we talked about this Phoenix Mercury team, and if they get healthy, they can be dangerous in the playoffs as long as they have everybody back. Well, that meant DeWanna Bonner, Brittany Griner, and Diana Taurasi being on the floor, and right now, none of them are.
We just get word from Holly that DeWanna Bonner is fine as Phoenix forces a turnover. And Bonner celebrates it on the bench. The Mercury somehow within just 2 here in this second quarter, despite the frigid start shooting. And the buckets in transition, Chicago was seemingly getting at will. Poke from behind by Vandersloot, but then an ill-advised down-court feed from Duke. The set jumper from Sancho Little, no good. And Dolson secures it for Chicago. Quigley has not gotten many open looks thus far. Du puts it in on a no-look feed from Courtney Vandersloot.
Sloot sees everything. It doesn't matter which way her head is turned. She is seeing the entire floor. Rarely misses a player when she's open.
Set a WNBA record with 300 assists this season, as Holly documented in her interview with Courtney midway through the first. January got knocked. Du raises her hand, takes responsibility for the foul. January will go to the line.
This is a Chicago team, second in the WNBA in assists this year. So unselfish, making the extra pass. And Sloot, if you are open and you're on the floor with her, you will get the basketball.
Let's check in with Holly.
Well, I asked Courtney Vandersloot if she can remember the moment she really became a true passer. Was there something in school at Kent Washington's Parks and Rec? She said, no, I never really was a good passer. I just wanted to score and be better than the boys. But when she went on her recruiting visit to Gonzaga, her parents left there and asked Kelly Graves, the coach there at the time, who's now at Oregon, is there anything she should work on? What is she not good at? He said, passing. From then on, she started working on her passing. So I think it's safe to say Kelly Graves, a big influence in Courtney Vandersloot focusing on that skill. Now look at her.
Exactly. And you know what? She obviously is advanced in television as well, knowing we needed an assist to close out the story. But what a terrific story Holly just told. I mean, think about the way that has shaped the journey for Vandersloot, who's become maybe the premier passer in this league.
I think right now she is. 9 assists a game. And it's contagious. When you have a really unselfish player on your team, everybody else wants to feed off of that and be part of that.
Nice response from Chicago after the dime from DeShields. January step-back jumper is good. Much needed for Phoenix.
Phoenix doing a really good job of not letting Chicago pull away, answering the runs.
Dolson put it on the deck in traffic. Good hands by Turner. Turner flashing ahead and finishing. Yvonne Turner had some big moments in the playoffs a season ago.
She's a player. This is the kind of game she flourishes. When it's in the open floor, when she can use her speed, when there's spacing to drive to the rim.
Chicago the 5 seed, Phoenix the 8. This is a single elimination first round game. Du buries the 3. The Du connecting from deep.
All of the Chicago Sky's post players that get significant minutes can extend out to the three-point line and hit those deep shots.
Du has the last 9 for Chicago. Boy, in close quarters, somehow Phoenix was able to massage that into the hoop. Quigley the push off, and that's going to be an offensive foul as January took the contact and sold it as well.
Great job by Breon January. She is going to run stride for stride, and Quigley, without question, lowers the shoulder, gets into her body. And January is one of those defenders. We saw it last year in the playoffs, man. She can really defend. But she also can get under your skin and make you want to give her that little shoulder.
Well, guys, there's a reason Breon January gets under your skin. She's a black belt. Come on. She can mix martial arts, defend you at a high level, and knows how to get under your skin mentally.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
a black belt mentality.
It feels like that would be a pretty good prerequisite for defending in hoops. Oh, what a pass. And Vandersloot upset the dude and finish it, loving the dime she dropped.
She's dropping the dime. You got to pick it up, Ryan.
That's right. She joked with us before the game about that, and sometimes saying to her teammates, hey, you need to finish it when I give you a pass like that. Mitchell off on a 3, and Parker secures the rebound. Nice pace to this game right now, and it's a 1-point contest. Vandersloot finds her wife. Quigley lays it in. Three minutes, 35 seconds to go in the first half. Phoenix without Diana Taurasi, also without Brittany Griner right now, who's back in the locker room after taking a knee to the knee. As Sancho Little hits the jumper.
I said a couple of minutes ago, Phoenix doesn't have the horses. Well, they do. They're staying in this game, more than staying in this game.
Here comes the screen from Du. Quigley. The leaner is pure. Allie Quigley, one of the premier shooters in the W. A Chicago legend who played it to Paul. As Bonner draws the whistle, and Phoenix has done a nice job of asserting themselves to the line here in this second quarter.
And Allie Quigley getting into the free throw line area. Hitting the bucket. Bucket for bucket.
The WNBA Playoffs 2019 is brought to you by Exxon and Mobil's new Synergy Supreme Plus, their best fuel ever.
John Brickley alongside the Hall of Famer Cheryl Swoops inside the studio. The WNBA halftime report presented by State Farm is coming up. We'll break down the first half between Chicago and Phoenix. Here the Sky have a 3-point lead. Major reason why, setting the tone with that transition game.
Yeah, Chicago is at their best when they're in transition and able to get some early buckets, and they've done a very good job of that so far in the first half.
13 assists on 15 made field goals. We'll also set the stage for Game 2 of our doubleheader for Seattle and Minnesota coming up at the half.
All right, guys, we look forward to that. James Wade just named the Coach of the Year today. His first year at the helm of Chicago. His Sky with a narrow lead in this second quarter. The Mercury already were without Diana Taurasi, who never really has gotten healthy this entire season. Now, Phoenix without Brittany Griner, who left with 8:18 to go this second quarter with what injury after she knocked knees with Allie Quigley on a screen. But the Mercury have done a nice job staying afloat. They're actually a +3 since she went out. Sets out of bounds off of Little. It'll stay with Chicago. By the way, that last foul was against Du, and her third personal. So some foul trouble for her. She's been Chicago's leading scorer with 11 points.
What's interesting about the plus-minus that you mentioned since DG went out is Chicago, I'm sure, did not expect to see this lineup when they were going through their scouting report and how they were going to defend. At least not for prolonged periods of time.
The old trick 'em by taking out Taurasi and Grinder move. Mitchell curling around, lost her footing. And I'm guessing we're going to see a wet spot mopped up at some point.
You would think.
You would think. 6 turnover for Phoenix. You talked about being a huge reason why Chicago swept the season series was how many more field goal attempts they had each game, dominating on the offensive glass and the turnover department. As Vandersloot connects on a long 2. So far, Phoenix is kept around even in that department.
Yeah, in their 2 most recent meetings, Chicago had 17 more field goal attempts and 15 more field goal attempts. Both coaches talked to us about the importance of, for Sandy Brondello, keeping that closer, and James Wade saying we've got to get more.
How about Sancho Little hitting on a 3? This game is tied at 37. Parker off. Dolson eats it up inside, plus the foul.
That's one of the offensive rebounds we're talking about right there. That's another possession for the Chicago Sky. And Stephanie Dolson might not have the best ups in the WNBA, but she knows how to use her frame and uses it to her advantage there, getting Turner pushed under the hoop.
8 points for Stephanie Dolson. And Chicago back up by 3. It's been an entertaining first half. 1:08 left in it, and that is an offensive foul as Little is called for the moving screen.
So we were just talking about it. What have we seen? We saw an offensive rebound by Chicago, and now a turnover by Phoenix.
Quigley had it knocked away, and now Chicago turns it over. Bonner in transition to tie her up, as Bonner now holding her eye after the contact. No foul called. You know, initially I think it was clean. Then it looked like the left hand of Vandersloot caught Bonner on the face. Nonetheless, it'll just be Phoenix ball underneath. Bonner appears okay. Bonner with the whistle against Dolson. And DeWanna Bonner will shoot 2. Bonner, just 1 of 7 from the floor, is now 3 of 3 from the line. The WNBA playoffs are here, but it's not too late to get in on Fantasy Women's Hoops with the WNBA Road to Finals contest. Play free through September 13th at WNBA.com/1day for a chance to win a trip to a WNBA Finals game. Do you think we get to see the winner at the game?
I hope so.
Me too. Vandersloot has to flag it down, is able to go into the backcourt off the contact. DeShields hits the jumper and executes the 2-for-1. About a 5-second difference game in shot clock as Little can't finish. And it's out of bounds underneath. It'll stay with Phoenix. Tightly played first half with neither team leading by more than 6. Bonner will take and hit. Second field goal of the game for Bonner. 5 seconds left in the half. Vandersloot deals it inside. A perfect feed for the bucket. And that'll do it for the first half as Cheyenne Parker finishes the layup. James Wade fired up after that bucket from Parker on the delivery from Vandersloot. It's Chicago with a 3-point lead after 2 quarters of play. 44-41, the score at the half. As we check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, Diamond DeShields, for much of this game, you were going on personal runs, creating defensive turnovers, and then converting on the other end. It's your first playoff game. Why are you feeling it like that?
I mean, it's do or die. You know, we don't have time to make too many mistakes. I just want to go out and make an impact for my teammates.
Without Brittany Griner in the game, how can you create more separation right now? It feels like you guys should be up by more right now.
Obviously, we got to try to get downhill, get some paint points, paint touches. BG, you know, it's a tough loss for Phoenix, but they got other great players, so we're just going to try to expose them on the defensive end and get some easy looks inside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Holly, our halftime scores, Chicago 44 and Phoenix 41. We'll send you back to John Brickley and Cheryl Swoops to the studio for the halftime report presented by State Farm. That's coming up right after these messages. Chicago leads by 3 at the half of this single elimination playoff game. Chicago, Illinois, we are getting ready for the start of the second half of this single elimination first round playoff game. Time to take a look at tonight's power performance brought to you by Beats. Three-point game as the Chicago Sky lead it over the Mercury. We get ready to start the third quarter. Ryan Rucco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. You know, the Chicago Sky, we knew their engine ran on Vandersloot. It certainly did in that first half.
I mean, James Wade has to be happy with the pace with which his team was able to play in that first half. They were able to push the ball down the floor, and if you are running and you are open, Courtney Vandersloot is going to find you. Chicago had 15 assists on their 19 made field goals. 8 of those came from Courtney Vandersloot. That's simply what makes Chicago go, is when the ball is in the point guard's hands.
Meanwhile, for the Phoenix Mercury, you know, they didn't have Brittany Griner for much of that first half, so they needed a balanced attack.
Yeah, they sure did. And you'll look and you notice, even without Brittany Griner in that first half, without Diana Taurasi, this still is a veteran-laden team. And all of those players who stepped up are some other veterans that they have on the squad.
Now we see Griner out on the floor. Let's get an update on her from Holly.
So Brittany Griner was examined closely at the half. She's come out with a brace on that left knee, and as she just ran by me in the tunnel, she said, well, I'm going to go out here and see what I can do. She's clearly not feeling great, not feeling herself, but with that big brace on, she's going to try to give her team something.
Thank you for the update, Holly. Griner leaving with 8:18 to go in the second quarter after her and Allie Quigley knocked knees. Griner back in there, though, right now trying to hang with Stephanie Dolson. Vandersloot finds DeShields in the corner off on a 3. Dolson able to flag it down. DeShields another try, and that time she hits.
The first half, the Phoenix Mercury did a pretty good job of keeping Chicago off the offensive glass. The Sky with only 3 offensive boards, but they start the third quarter with 1 and get an extra 3.
And the 6-point lead matches their largest of the game as Dolson's called for a foul. Griner just trying to muscle her way through traffic on that knee.
And if Brittany Griner 100%, use her. Get her the basketball. See what she can do offensively. She draws the double team. She will pass out. Out of the double team. She won't pass out.
No, hopefully she won't pass out. That would be a problem. Need to get her some electrolytes. Griner, her jumper, a little too strong. By the way, that was the 3rd foul on Stephanie Dolson. Dew also has 3. Can Griner put any more on them? Quigley comes from behind for the block. And the bench of Chicago just obsessed with that rejection.
Well, your guard just blocked a 6'8" player.
And then finishes a leaner on the other end. Here's Mitchell sneaking it to Turner. Griner double. Mitchell fires. No. And the rebound collected by Duke. 8 assists in the first half for Vandersloot as DeShields can't cup it in, but gets the foul called against Griner. Diamond DeShields will shoot 2.
Diamond DeShields simply is explosive, and she gets past her guard defender, attacks BG. Think that was a foul?
Maybe not. Second foul called on Griner. DeShields has really been scoring of late.
There's a lot of words coming at you.
Let's take a look at our upcoming WNBA national TV games. The second game of our first round elimination games is up next. Minnesota and Seattle face off shortly after this game ends. Then on Sunday, it's the second round doubleheader of elimination games. Starts at 3 Eastern on ESPN2, with the Sparks taking on the lowest seed that wins tonight. Vegas will face the other winning team from tonight. That'll be at 5 Eastern on Sunday, also on ESPN2. For more on these games and all playoff info, go to WNBA.com or visit the WNBA app.
How could there possibly be more on those games? There's a lot of words.
That's right. Words are, in my not-so-humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic. Vandersloot on the steal. 3-on-1, and Vandersloot finishes. Timeout, Phoenix. It's a 12-point Chicago lead and an 11-0 run.
Transition, Chicago, dangerous, period.
The WNBA Playoffs 2019 is brought to you by Exxon and Mobil's new Synergy Supreme Plus, their best fuel ever.
Well, a 9-0 run to begin the second half for the Sky. And they now have a 12-point lead. James Wade's squad playing with the pace he wants them to. And now Brittany Griner, who tried to come out here and play hobbled to begin this third quarter, is back on the bench for Phoenix.
This is not a game where, because of the pace, where you can be hobbled and still be able to contribute up and down the floor. And BG not at 100% was struggling to make it up and down.
So Phoenix, who had some success in that second quarter without Griner after she went down to injury, goes back to basketball without BG as January gets stuffed inside. A 12-point lead for the higher-seeded Chicago Sky. Dolson connects. Assist number 9 for Vandersloot as Dolson is in double figures with 11. The lead has swelled to 15. 12-0 to begin the second half as that bucket drops down. And a much-needed 3 to end the run. Quigley trying to respond, a little short. Threading the needle, and that's going the other way. Diamond DeShields, another gem of a defensive play.
Great job by Diamond DeShields to sprint back and get that. Just getting her hands on the ball, not giving up on the play. Beautiful pass by Mitchell, but DeShields right there.
And you know what? Looked like that was the right call. Looked like it did hit Phoenix afterwards. 2 blocks now for DeShields, who's credited with 1 there. Vandersloot tried to force it that time. Here comes Bonner with little to her left. Bonner missed it. Tawana Bonner just 2 of 9 from the floor. DeShields fakes the 3, takes the leg. 17 points for Diamond DeShields in her first WNBA playoff game. whistle, and we'll shoot 2.
Diamond DeShields gets called for a foul on that one, but this is a player I believe, if she stays healthy, is a future MVP in this league.
Yeah, I mean, Holly, Diamond DeShields, just terrific so far in her first playoff game.
Well, that's right. She's been terrific, and she said one of the reasons is James Wade has brought out something great in her. He convinced her there's a lot of parallels between her and Maya Moore and the way she can turn the corner and be great. She told me today in a sit-down interview, I believe I have greatness in me, and it just gave me chills to hear this young player say that about herself. She said, I've matured, I've grown up, I have better decision making. I know that my teammates around me are mad at me if I don't take 10 or more shots. They're empowering her to find that greatness within, and we're seeing a very special display right now.
James Wade, of course, coached Maya Moore when he was an assistant with the Minnesota Lynx, and he said, you know, I saw how Maya prepared to be great every day, and he's trying to teach that to the Diamond DeShields.
Dolson trying to hook it in, cannot. Said he almost feels like it's the perfect situation for him, perfect team to coach. After coaching under Cheryl Reeve, getting to coach Lindsay Whalen, he said Vandersloot kind of taking on that role here, asking Diamond to take on a role like Maya did. Obviously, those are huge shoes. You're talking about one of the greatest players of all time. But James Wade feeling like he was built to coach this team, and he gave a lot of credit to Cheryl Reeve and Dan Hughes, who he learned under. Hughes for more than half a decade in San Antonio, and then the last couple of seasons under Cheryl Reeve in Minnesota. We'll see Minnesota and Seattle, Reeve against Hughes in the second game of our doubleheader, following this one right here on ESPN2. Parker missed the lay, kept alive by Du. Vandersloot keeps her footing, can't get the roll. Little, nice find, and Camille Little finishes. Sancho to Camille. You smell popcorn, by the way, all of a sudden?
The guy right there is eating it.
Oh, that's what it is. Strong on the butter. Phoenix comes up with a steal. Bonner trying to collect it. Mercury with a little momentum now, trying to claw back into this. Knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with Phoenix. 10 to shoot.
Yeah, this is the lineup that was able to make a push in the second quarter for Phoenix. They've played well together in very tough circumstances, playing all season with Brittany Griner, except for her 3-game suspension, and now out here without her.
The inbound pass stolen by Williams. DeShields. She'll have a chance for 3.
When you combine elite athleticism with skill, and now learning how to work every day like a champion and have the discipline that you need to have, and teammates who believe in you and encourage you and want what's best for you, man, Diamond DeShields, I am eager to watch this young lady over the course of the next few years, because she is really starting to blossom.
A 20-point game for Diamond DeShields, 10 in this third. Devon Turner, the nice breakdown. Little steps into a 17-footer and hits. Phoenix, 14-3 all-time in winner-take-all games. Best in WNBA history. But they're having to attack this one without Taras Reiner. Bonner flings it. Turner can't quite lay it in. Here comes DeShields, again breaking ahead. And she's fouled by Mitchell. First foul on Leilani Mitchell. You know, we talked a lot about Diamond DeShields, her story. She also has incredible athleticism in her blood. Her father, Delano DeShields, her brother, Delano DeShields Jr., both major leaguers, both incredibly athletic outfielders.
But she'll admit that she's the best athlete in the family.
That's right. Who hits the 3, and there might be a chance for 4 as there was a foul underneath against Phoenix, simultaneous with the shot.
I mean, it's so dangerous with Chicago when you have post players who can step out on the perimeter here. Camille Little just gives a little too much. Gets the foul called. Two to make one, right?
Now, Parker has a chance to complete the 4-point play. And does so. A 15-point Chicago lead. That's off of Quigley. Winner of this game will play Sunday. If Phoenix were to win, they would be at LA. Chicago would be at Vegas. Mitchell squeezes between two, can't spin it in. The putback no good from Little, and the rebound secured by Duke. DeShields off one leg, doesn't get the roll. Nice movement there, and Bonner lays it in. I mean, Rebecca, if you're Phoenix and you're playing without Griner, without Taurasi, you know, how are you using your pieces to stay in this game? What do you need to be doing?
Well, one of the things that's really hard here is when you get a deficit like this, you feel like you need to quicken the pace, but that plays right into what Chicago wants to do. You're going to need a heavy dose of DeWanna Bonner. You're going to need to make your threes. You need to get stops, in particular, at the defensive end of the floor so you can get out and cut into this deficit.
Bonner with 16 points now. Tomorrow morning, the U.S. is back in action at the FIBA World Cup with their consolation game against Serbia at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on ESPN+. Then after that one, it's Poland and the Czech Republic. To get ESPN+, go to ESPNplus.com or download the app so you can watch anywhere. Stu Du having a tremendous night, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the floor. Sandy Brondell pointed out to us before the game that they've had trouble with Stu in their previous matchups.
Yeah, she's played really well, and the remarkable story, she didn't start getting a lot of minutes until Jantel Lavender went down with injury.
Lavender breaking her foot. Is on the bench. After many a successful season in LA, Lavender, a new prized acquisition this year for Chicago, was playing well, but then went down with that injury.
I was talking to Stephanie Dolson this morning, what has been, such a big difference in your team? And she said, well, one, James Wade has just brought a totally different attitude and feeling to this team. And she said, but Jantel Lavender was a big part of it as well, getting her championship experience around the team every day and helping, again, instill the championship culture that James Wade wanted.
Williams will give it up. Inside, Parker got hit and will shoot two. Holly, I know when it comes to championship culture, there's some specific things that James Wade wanted to instill with this team.
The number one thing that he asked his team to do is effort. He said, every single time we have effort, I want every effort to have detail in it. He said, we're not going to be a my bad team, which is like, oh, my bad, coach, my bad, I didn't do that right. He said, no, we are going to have every detail be taken care of. And it's simple things like come to the huddle ready to play, have your jersey tucked in, the right practice outfit on, no jewelry, just a pride and professionalism. And he said it did take some time, but he thinks that it's been very important. He said, I stole my blueprint from Cheryl Reeve and Dan Hughes. He said, when I was named Coach of the Year, I actually called those coaches today and said, thank you for all that you've taught me. But he wants the little things of accountability to run through this team. And he said, I know we've done our job. When the players are saying, hey, you need to take that jewelry off, or you need to be more accountable, when they're holding each other accountable, that is a championship culture.
And that's the growth that they've seen under James Wade, who also came in instilling confidence right away. saying, hey, this isn't about next year, 6 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now. This is about right now. We have enough to be good. And both Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley told us before the game it actually took a while for them to believe their head coach. But about midway through the season, they started to and said, you know what, he's right. We can be good right now.
I mean, for the most part, this is the same roster they had a year ago that won 13 games. And it's just been a different attitude, and this team is completely different from the one we saw a season ago wearing this uniform.
14-point Chicago lead, under a minute to go in the third. Faulkner will take. It's hit. A 17-point lead for Chicago as Turner is fouled, and we'll take a listen in to James Wade, wired for sound.
You see what having your hands high can do? That's what, hey, keep on having your hands high, that's good. Way to get that turnover back in the first half, Hey.
Turn it over in the first half, have your hands high in the second, you get it back. He has a relentlessly positive attitude as well. Just constant with his team and helping them believe in each other and believe in themselves.
Turner hits. Phoenix has done a nice job of getting itself to the line, but they are being asked to achieve a tall task right now with no Taurasi and no Griner. Turner the rebound. If she really pushes, she could maybe sneak in a 2-for-1. She will try. Can't hit. Rebound into Chicago's arms. Down court feed, and Copper couldn't hold on. Phoenix will have the final shot of the quarter. This was a 3-point game at the half. But Chicago blitzed Phoenix 12-0 to begin the third quarter, and they've been able to maintain some space. Turner on the drive, again gets the whistle. Yvonne Turner will shoot 2. You know, one of the things that DeWanna Bonner had told us towards the end of the regular season, Phoenix had 3 home games left. And she said, we need these 3 home games to get our confidence back. These games are really important for us to feel good going into the first round, to get that Diana swagger back. And they never got Diana's health. They didn't get that swagger, and they lost all 3 of those games.
Yeah, I mean, for them to be successful in the playoffs, they needed to approach it with a different outcome in those last 3 games. It just didn't get there.
Chicago builds a 13-point lead after 3. They are a quarter away from advancing to the second round. The Sky had it all going in the third.
Here with the Sky head coach James Wade, the WNBA Coach of the Year. First of all, Coach, your first playoff game with this group. How do you assess how they've handled this game tonight?
I think we're coming out with intensity, but that intensity is causing us to foul. I think we're too excited, and it's causing us to do too much stuff with our hands. So we have to fix that because we can't have them in a bonus.
In this elimination format, how do you play this fourth quarter, knowing that rest for Sunday could be important, but also that you've got to still take care of business?
It's no rest in the playoffs.
Thank you, Coach.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm disappointed in a Holly Rowe interview.
Oh, no, why?
When we were meeting with James Wade before the game, the two were having a conversation in French, and Holly promised us she would ask the second question in French, and James Wade said he would answer it in French.
Uh-oh. Holly, you have Rebecca upset over here.
Désolée, j'oubliais la question en français. Je suis très, très désolée. Prochaine fois, je peux faire l'interview, toute l'interview en français avec James. Je suis désolée.
I trust Holly said something totally appropriate at that moment.
I did say I'm sorry, but he has had such a fascinating life. He grew up in Memphis. He played for Kennesaw State, and then he went to play overseas, and he met one of the great players in France of all time, Edvej. And he has had this life back and forth between the United States, Russia, and France with his wife and young son. So just what a fascinating career and life that he has had. But he is fluent in French for the last 13 years.
Yeah, he was telling us a story that he was looking through a magazine in France looking for pictures of himself because he was playing at that time. He ended up seeing his future wife, thought, oh, she's nice looking, said, I'm going to marry that woman, and eventually the right people heard. He got to meet her, and it's been history ever since, as his team has a chance for another three-point play.
I love that he unabashedly told us that he met her because he was looking in a magazine for pictures of himself. Cheyenne Parker just getting inside, finishing at the rim. Another one of the post players who gets it done for the Chicago Sky. It's amazing to think that they lost one of their starting bigs in Jantel Lavender and simply haven't missed a beat because of what they could bring off the bench. And Estu, Ndu, and Cheyenne Parker.
Well done.
It was my first time all game.
You even gave a little hand to it as well. Phoenix without Griner, without Taurasi, trying to somehow stay afloat here in the fourth. Bonner. Lost it, tied up, and it's out of bounds off of Chicago as Bonner wins it back for Phoenix. DeWanna Bonner, 18 points to lead the way for the Mercury.
Chicago still fighting and scrapping and just, active hands. I mean, this is what they do on the defensive end of the floor, and so often they get steals and can take it the other way.
Cunningham hits the three. Sophie Cunningham, the 13th pick of this past year's draft, the rookie out of Missouri. Quigley, long strides. What a pivot. Stopped on a dime.
That was really pretty.
Allie Quigley, a three-time All-Star. A two-time Sixth Woman of the Year. Turner misfires, and Deux comes in for the rebound. Quigley will take, and it's hit. Gives a little point to Courtney Vandersloot afterwards. Quigley starting to find her stroke as Diamond DeShields strums away on the guitar. And a foul called inside against Chicago as we learn a little more about Allie Quigley from Holly Rowe.
Well, Allie Quigley is playing in front of her hometown crowd here in Chicago. She grew up in Joliet, Illinois, and was a legend there. I talked to her college coach from DePaul, Doug Bruno, and he said, about 4th or 5th grade, I started hearing about these Quigley girls. They were playing baseball, beating the boys, some of the best athletes in Joliet. And so he said, I thought I better go see her. When I first saw her, I was like, I don't know if she can play for us. That thin frame. He said, but then I saw her play, and she was such a natural scorer. I thought, I've just got to take a chance. So he offered her. She ended up going to DePaul, and after the second game, when a starter went down, she started every other game from DePaul from that time forward. There was a time she didn't think she was good enough to play in the WNBA, and you guys can document her overseas journey, but here she is playing in their hometown crowd, a very natural scorer still to this day.
Yeah, it's amazing, her journey and how many times she was cut from the W, came back, and has certainly found a home in her home. It's all Sky in the fourth. They lead by 17.
The WNBA Playoffs 2019 is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. And Taco Bell's $5 Triple-Double Crunch Wrap Box.
Well, coming up next, it's the second of our single elimination first round playoff games. Natasha Howard the newly minted Defensive Player of the Year, and the defending champion Seattle Storm taking on the previous season's champs, the Minnesota Lynx. One team will advance, one will go home, as is the case here in Chicago, where the Sky have a 17-point fourth quarter lead. 7 minutes and 35 seconds to go. Mercury playing without Diana Taurasi, who just never really got healthy this season after having back surgery, then dealt with hamstring issues, and just could not quite find her way back to her all-time great form. And then in the second quarter with 8:18 to go, Brittany Griner got knee-on-knee contact, missed the rest of the second quarter, tried to come back in the third, clearly was hobbled, and has not been back since the early minutes of the third quarter, as Camille Little will get called for the illegal screen, and Phoenix turns it over. Diamond DeShields will check back in for Chicago. She has been tremendous tonight in her first playoff game. You know, we talked about the athletic accomplishments of her brother and father. We can't forget her mother, Tisha, who was an all-world heptathlete at Tennessee, where you compete in 7 different track and field events. So, I mean, the athleticism just all over the DeShields family.
And again, Diamond will say she's the best athlete in the family, and I love it.
Nice find. Plays it in. DeWanna Bonner now with 21 points to lead the way for Phoenix. It's DeShields who leads for Chicago as Dolson misfires on a 3. Bonner secures the rebound. Little? No. Down court feed is perfect, and DeShields cleans it up.
She's really good at leaking out. When she doesn't get the steal herself, she is running the floor, and we talked about it earlier. This team will find one another when they're open.
Mitchell gets fouled. Dolson called for it. Leilani Mitchell will shoot 2.
We talked about Diamond DeShields leaking out. Shot goes up. The second you see a teammate get possession of the ball, you run, and that's what she does. And because she's got a nice little extra gear and a burst of speed, she can beat the defense down the floor.
Chicago with a 22-3 edge in fast break points.
Phoenix all season has played at the slowest pace in the league. Chicago second fastest. They want to get up and down the floor. Huge key to their success. Phoenix wanted to limit them today, and were not able to do so.
They've more than doubled their regular season average in fast break points, and that average was second best in the league. As Quigley hits a leaner, she's gotten hot in the fourth, now 13 in the game for Allie Quigley. Mitchell lost it, trying to get it back. It's off her. Phoenix turns it over. And it's been tough sledding in this contest for Leilani Mitchell, who has had an incredible season for Phoenix.
She should be named the most improved player in the league. Just a remarkable year for her. With the absence of Diana Taurasi, asked to have the ball in her hands a lot more, asked to look to score a lot more, and she stepped up to the challenge.
Boy, that's not going to be called a foul, but James Wade is apoplectic, and I understand why. It looked like January just hip-checked Courtney Vandersloot.
And the official could have called a technical there, and I'm glad she didn't. She just ignored, James Wade as he was understandably upset on the sideline.
Right. When you miss the call, don't call the T at the person who's upset you missed it.
Exactly.
Bonner misfires from 3. DeShields the rebound. DeShields blasting to the rim, plus the foul. Diamond DeShields shining tonight.
One of the brightest young superstars in the WNBA, and only her second season, an elite athlete. She can finish Sky to the rim, showing some emotion. She's having some fun this year with the Chicago Sky.
A 25-point playoff debut thus far for Diamond DeShields. A 20-point Sky lead. That's a travel.
This certainly is not the group of Phoenix players that we expected to be playing the majority of the minutes in this playoff game. In particular because Brittany Griner's not on the floor. But again, at the beginning of the season, one of our favorites, you and me, Ryan, to contend for a WNBA championship. But injury has completely changed the story of the season for the Phoenix Mercury.
Mitchell fouls Dolson on the floor. Well, after the way Phoenix played Seattle in the semifinals last year, you got the feeling that whoever won that series was going to go on and win the finals. No disrespect to Washington, who's now had maybe the greatest regular season of all time, certainly one of them this season. But last year, that's how good the Mercury looked in the playoffs, facing an eventual champion of the Storm. You figured, all right, it'll be unfinished business this year, but they just never got their group healthy and together, namely Diana Taurasi. And so they've been a shell of what they could have been this entire season.
A bright spot for them has been the emergence of Brianna Turner as one of the really good young players in this rookie class.
Carson, it's the jumper. Du gets fouled underneath by Mitchell. Chicago the 5 seed, Phoenix the 8. 4:16 to go in this fourth quarter. Single elimination first round game. In case you're new to the WNBA, viewing us for the first time in the playoffs, the first and second round, this is the fourth year of them being single elimination games. As Allie Quigley hits the jumper, the 1 and 2 seeds advance to a 5-game semifinal. Conference no longer plays a role in the playoff seeding. DeShields fires a bullet that Quigley flags down. Quigley finds Dolson in Chicago putting on a clinic. A 22-point Chicago lead. Dolson wide open. Why not? Timeout, Phoenix. The Sky pouring it on.
Chicago has such great spacing on the offensive end of the floor because all of their bigs can make shots from the perimeter. And there's their center, Stephanie Dolson, getting it done.
Chicago has put on a well-balanced and potent attack. Rebecca, before the season, you, Holly Rowe, and Sue Bird, that first game that we did between Seattle and Phoenix, you all said you thought Chicago was a team to watch this season. They have certainly made good on that potential you saw budding. And now they're just 3 minutes away from a playoff win and a trip to the second round.
This is a team last year that was dangerous on the offensive end of the floor, but struggled defensively. And this year they've ramped it up offensively, become much better defensively, and the culture that has been instilled by James Wade has completely changed.
Sky have emptied out their bench as Alexander lays that in.
This is the third time in the last 4 games that Chicago scored over 100. This team can put points on the board.
Should be a fun matchup with Vegas.
Vegas won 2 of 3. Chicago was able to win 1, but also lost 1 in Vegas.
Alexander hooks it in. It is a 29-point cushion for the Sky. You know, one other thing you think about, Rebecca, just within the context of this game, not only the Mercury season, this was a game where they were going to ride Brittany Griner.
Yeah.
Where they were going to try and rely on her, and it was going to be her first time looking to do it without the security blanket of Diana Taurasi. But because of a second quarter injury, Griner never had that chance tonight.
It's our first ESPN game, you know, and so for me, I feel like it's been a while since I've been able to play on ESPN and show myself. And I think this team, we deserve it. You know, we've worked really hard to be here, and I'm just really happy, you know, and excited.
Well, Diamond DeShields has put on a show. 25 points, the 5th most in a playoff debut in WNBA history. And Chicago tonight with 30 assists, tied for the 3rd most ever in a playoff game from a team. For a Sky team without a ton of playoff experience, they have put on a show.
And chemistry is such a big part of a team's success. And James Wade was saying, you know, before I even talked about X's and O's with this team, I needed them to like each other and want to play together. And he has certainly instilled that with this group. We've seen them celebrating all game long on the bench, on the floor for one another. They share the basketball. I mean, this is a team that clearly enjoys playing together. They all went to the WNBA All-Star game in Vegas to support Sloot and Quigley. I mean, this is a palpable chemistry.
Inside of 90 seconds remaining, Williams gets clobbered by Cunningham. Hey, the WNBA playoffs are here, but it's not too late to get in on Fantasy Women's Hoops with the WNBA Road to the Finals contest. Play free through September 13th at WNBA.com/one-day for a chance to win a trip to a WNBA Finals game.
Brian, you know I love WNBA playoffs. My favorite work time of the year.
Yes.
One of the reasons I love it is because we get to do WNBA store promos. Where's our WNBA store promo?
You are the only on-air person to ever ask for more promos.
Well, just that particular one. I mean, we talk about fanny packs. We can't talk about fanny packs this year. I mean, come on.
Fleeces,
everything.
Cunningham gets fouled by Samuelson. Well, I'm sure the next broadcast on Sunday Now we'll be talking about the WNBA store.
Well, whether or not there's a promo, I'm going to.
Okay, good. Well, you did that tonight.
Exactly.
Brittany Griner going down with a knee injury in the second quarter. Missed the final 8 minutes and 18 seconds of the second. Tried to play the beginning of the third quarter, but after a few possessions and a big Chicago run, it was clear she would not be able to. So an already depleted Phoenix team got a little thinner, and the Sky took advantage. A monster second half for Chicago, who led by just 3 at the half. Their lead right now is 29.
I am excited to watch Liz Cambage, Asia Wilson, and the dominant inside play of Las Vegas against this team from Chicago that pushes pace, has elite guard play. It's going to be a bit of a contrast in styles, but wow, that's going to be a good game.
That'll be Sunday at 5 Eastern on ESPN2. And Los Angeles will play the winner of our next game, Minnesota and Seattle. The last 2 league champs going at it in a single elimination game. That's right here on ESPN2 following the conclusion of this one. Final 21 seconds. Williams. Rebound taken away, and Chicago will back it out and dribble this one out. The Chicago Sky are on to round 2. A decisive victory over Phoenix. 105-76 the final.